And we are live. Guys, a lot has happened in this past, okay? Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, might be a little too in love with the nitrous, okay? We're not sure, but he has been up to certain activities that are a little we gotta dance around this a little bit, you know what I mean? You know, so we just gotta keep this a little YouTube friendly. But Kanye, yay, you know, what have you, has been up to a lot in the past week, going on Piers Morgan, walking right off, dropping music and then getting immediately banned on SoundCloud and YouTube. And in what people call the song of the summer, you know, now it's not even accessible at your local streaming service. So you're going to kind of have to, if you want to listen to that, find it somewhere else. There's a new pope, and he is from Chicago. Now, I'll tell you, I was a little concerned when I heard there was a pope from Chicago. But fortunately, it's not what you think. We'll get into that. And there's a war between India and Pakistan. We're probably going to be consulting our historian over here, Mr. Greg, you know, very literate in historical tales, who's going to talk to us about that. You know, and honestly, if only we had Mr. Humvee here to talk to us a little bit about the Pope, because Mr. Humvee here is well, not here, there, wherever, is a I was going to say devout, but you know, I don't know. He's a Catholic. Anyway, not to dox him. I'm just saying. He's probably going to make that obvious in the comments. If he does come in here. And, you know, there's, I don't know if you've seen this, but we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about Mike Israetel. I don't know if you've seen his gut.
No.
You're in for a surprise, sir. You are in for a surprise. All this and more on
the podcast.
The podcast ever. So how have you been, Mr. Greg? How's it been? How's the week going? What are you up to?
Well, I don't know if I announced this before, but I refilled my aspirin reserves after many a month without aspirin. Let's see what else we got here. The price of jelly beans, let me tell you, it's ridiculous. You know, 5 years ago, which isn't even that long ago, I remember you could get a bag of jelly beans, a good size of jelly beans, for like less than $1. Now, at best, I'm getting it for $3.
Go buy a 4.5 pound bag of Haribo Gold Bears.
It's not the same at all. You know, even when I was a kid, I didn't even like gummy bears. I didn't think they were good.
I'm just saying. These are pretty all right. I mean, not even just all right. I like them. Okay. So they're not, after having tried the Black Forest gummy bears, they're definitely not as good as those, but I still like them. I had like a few handfuls of them last night because I was pretty hungry still. You know, we were on Discord and I was just enjoying them. Honestly, they got, you know, a few flavors here. Let's see what they have. They have pineapple. It's like a little clear there. We have lemon. It's kind of looking like the pineapple from here, but it's not. Raspberry. Unfortunately, I'm more of a cherry guy when it comes to candy flavors, which I do have some natural lollipops that have a cherry flavor, and it's the best. The orange. And then we have, surprisingly, the green one is strawberry. I didn't even think that, I mean, I guess they already have a raspberry, which is red, but I didn't even put 2 and 2 together that this was a strawberry flavor. It's kind of surprising.
You prefer cherry over raspberry?
Yes.
There's something wrong with you.
Why?
Well, first of all, the raspberry should have been blue, but then I don't know what kind of
but it's
dyes they have in that.
Right. No, the Black Forest ones don't have any synthetic dyes, but these do, unfortunately. RFK Jr. would not approve of this right here, unfortunately. But the natural lollipops also have natural colors. So the Black Forest gummy bears and those, but I'll eat through my inventory of these regardless because they're really not that bad. But in the future, I might just buy the Black Forest gummy bears because they taste so good.
They're
They
not
taste so good.
They're not as good as a jelly bean, so that's the problem.
You know, I haven't tried these jelly beans you've been talking about. So you know, I don't know which ones you're eating, but it's been a while since I've even had a jelly bean. The last jelly bean I probably had was you know about the Bean Boozled. You know about that?
Yeah, those suck.
Dude, I remember having those and throwing up.
Bro, what is with your
I threw
stomach?
up, dude, at
Your
those. Those
stomach
were
is so fucking
disgusting.
weak, dude.
They were disgusting. This was years ago. Okay. I think my stomach's improved, but this was years ago. And back then I definitely did not have a strong stomach, dude. I mean, I can go on a roller coaster just fine. That's, you know, that doesn't, you know, mess with me. But when it comes to disgusting flavors, like scents, like, I mean, man, it's just when there's something that disgusts me, that's what gets me.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I already told this tale. I don't know if I told it here, but I went, what, 20 years, roughly. 20 years without ever vomiting. Mind over matter, my friend.
Fair enough, but you know the body expels things for a reason. So I mean, there's got to be situations in which it is better to throw up, but you know, then it kind of forces you to be less able to lock in situations where you need to not throw up.
Correct. You see,
here's the thing. That one where the
if I want to throw up, I can. But I don't. If I don't want to, then I can just say no.
But wouldn't making yourself do it make you more prone to accidentally doing it in the future?
No, it's mind over matter.
Or is that just okay? So for you, it's never going to happen like that. It's you don't gain a resistance by not doing it,
unless I'm inebriated, or unless somebody pushes me out of their car.
That first time was on you.
The first time, yes.
Definitely on you.
The second time, definitely not. I was
it's arguable who that one was on.
No, it's not. It's really not.
I remember it's debatable. It's debatable.
Yeah, I don't know.
I wasn't trusting you that much at that moment. I really didn't know about that. I was not going to take that risk. Okay.
I think I literally told you not to do that too.
Yeah, I still didn't trust you. You know, I was even this was like a few weeks back. I was driving Zaria's back home, and you know, he had, I don't know how many, you know, beers or whatever he had, but you know, he likes them. You know, he's a Mexican guy, and he was falling asleep in my car, and I was like, dude, there's no way I'm gonna let this guy fall asleep in my car because I'm like, I don't know that he's really nauseous or anything. I don't really think he's definitely gonna, you know, like puke or anything. But I'm like, I cannot take those chances. So I kept waking him up as he was in my car. Like every few seconds, I would just start slapping him on the chest or like just like yelling really loud or playing loud music. I actually eventually, after getting tired of like trying to wake him up like manually, I just rolled the windows down, turned on the music as loud as I could, and that just kept him up.
Damn.
I didn't want to put up with it anymore. I was like, damn, dude, like you're making me like distracted here, having to keep waking you up. So I'm just going to do whatever it takes to keep this automatic because I cannot be doing this right now. This is the thing I do not want to be doing in this moment.
You play Kanye?
No comment. No comment. But hey, this was a few weeks back when you know, Mr. Ye had not released you know, I don't even think he had put Cousins out at the time. So, you know, no matter what I was playing from him was not in any way controversial, I would say, you know, compared to now. So I'm just saying.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah, but everybody forgot about Cousins because Mr. Ye, aka, or I guess formerly known as Kanye West, has debuted a new song that we shouldn't even really be saying the title of on YouTube because it has been taken down. New versions of the song that are getting re-uploaded are getting taken down off YouTube. When Kanye uploaded it, it got taken down from SoundCloud. It's said to violate the terms of service on YouTube if you even post the new version, but for some reason you can post the old version, which is basically the same, just lower quality, you bumping it as much. And Kanye is not able to put on streaming platforms. He was complaining about the fact that Randy Newman allowed, but his song wasn't. And so he was saying that, you know, they're coming for us black people and all that. But, you know, be that as it may, whatever that is, we're just saying that Kanye is not able to post this song anywhere except for Twitter or X. Basically he has posted a music video version of it. We're not going to watch it. If you want to see it, just go to Kanye West at Kanye West on Twitter. It's going to be probably hard to find because he is he's not very searchable. You have to type in the whole address and then click enter for the handle because or I guess like click on the thing that pops up when like go to at Kanye West, because he had posted pornography before, and that led Elon to restricting his account. So I mean that has happened. So basically the only way to access it, you got to go to his page, you got to do that, and you do whatever from there. But he has put out two versions. One was the original and one was the Hooligans version, which the Hooligans are I guess before they were a different group called those like Inter Milan whatever. Let's see. Yeah, Inter Milan, like the Italian like club, I think, if I'm not mistaken, were the like original hooligans for him. I'm pretty sure it was Inter Milan something. Anyway, basically, let me look that up. But the new Hooligans are just like Kanye had posted out about before. He was saying basically like here is like an application to be a hooligan or whatever, or I guess like just like performing my music. And then he was saying like you can't be fat and you have to be like black as well. So yeah, it's like a group of black men chanting a certain set of words that again we cannot really be saying on here. Yeah, it was the who were the group of ultras from the Inter Milan football club, Internazionale Milano. That's who they originally were. They were featured on Kanye's Vultures 1 and Vultures 2 as well. So, there's a new group of minting certain words. But basically, Kanye, since it being taken down, since talking about it not being allowed on streaming platforms, he also said he's not allowed to play this at his show in South Korea. He's not allowed to perform this song. And he's saying, I'm going to do it at any show I go to. I'm going to be performing this song. And so I guess it's not, but I was thinking, do you think it would be a good idea to read an article covering this song from a source that would, a Jewish source that would be calling this out for anti-Semitism? Do you think that's all right to be reading here? I mean, that we're getting at least some balance with that, I suppose.
I would assume.
Or do you think it's you still got to dodge it?
Well, I mean,
I could just perhaps read relevant portions.
Yeah, I guess that's probably the safest route.
Okay. Let's take a look at that then. Let me turn off my camera here. I still have the same icon from before, but I guess it's still relevant. Okay. So here we go. And I mean, you're going to see the text for what it is. I mean, like, that's not going to be completely not presented there. So, but anyway, the song, which you could call in acronym HH, Kanye West song, is not satire, according to, how do you say this? Gila Isaacson, who is reporting, or I guess commentary writing for JFeed. I'm sorry?
Gila Isaacson, Jesus.
Okay. Who's writing commentary for JFeed Jewish News. So this is her opinion piece on the matter. We're just gonna take this from her and present the side that is not in favor of this song, calling it out for sort of social reasons. But basically, the head or subheading goes, in his latest track, Ye glorifies. Well, we're gonna have to refer to them as N-words, I guess. I don't know how else to say it because I don't really want to keep saying those words. Ye glorifies the N-words. I don't know how else to put it. Mocks H-cost victims and taps into the rage of millions. This isn't trolling. It's targeted propaganda. I don't even know if I should be saying that word there. Kanye West, now known as Ye, has once again ignited outrage with his unreleased track, HH, previewed during a live stream in April 2025. The song is part of his upcoming album, Cuck, previously titled World War III. The lyrics of HH are explicitly inflammatory. Ye raps, so I became a N-word. Yeah, bitch, I'm the villain. And repeatedly chants, nigga, HH. in the chorus, directly referencing the N-word salute and Eichler's regime. He ties his embrace of N-wordism to personal struggles, stating, "With all of the money and fame, I still can't get my kids back, so I became an N-word." These lines suggest that his adoption of extremist ideology is a response to personal pain, trivializing the atrocity of. Okay. I'm just going to skip that rest of the sentence. The casual use of racial slurs alongside N-word rhetoric furthers the song's offensive nature, blending multiple forms of bigotry into a single toxic narrative. Ye also references his controversial social media presence, rapping, "They don't understand the things I say on Twitter." The line appears to dismiss criticism of his anti-Semitic posts, which have included praising Eichler and denying the event. And so open source intel says, imagine as an artist, this is just a tweet that's added to this. Imagine as an artist with 33 million followers. And by the way, this is going to be a relevant number, not for any sort of reason related to the song, but just as far as Ye's interview with Piers Morgan, which is going to be kind of funny whenever it gets brought back up, but releasing a song filled with slurs against Black people. Okay, so apparently I guess this is just a person saying, imagine an artist, like basically like imagine there was a white artist that did that, right? And so the person continues to claim that America's streets would be on fire, but it's against a certain group of people, but no one says a word. Call it out is what the person calls for. So the song's title and content are part of Ye's well-documented pattern of a certain type of behavior. Since 2022, he has made increasingly brazen statements, including declaring "I love" a certain painter on Alex Jones's InfoWars, posting a symbol intertwined with the star on X, and selling t-shirts emblazoned with a symbol labeled HH01, which is code for a certain phrase. These actions led to severed partnerships with Adidas, Gap, and Balenciaga, as well as suspensions from social media platforms. Okay, so we kind of get the gist of that there. This person is stating that this here is evil for the following reasons, and we can sort of just take a look at this side of the argument and why it's being stated that way. Because there is a glorification of a mass targeting of people, and as they would put it, a systematic action against a group of people is how it's being phrased here. I don't really know if I should say these words because again, YouTube. But this is being claimed that by chanting what he is and calling himself what he is, the N-word, not the N-word, but an N-word, Ye glorifies a symbol of unimaginable suffering, spitting in the face of certain individuals involved in this that this person is saying here. Again, I just, I don't know how much I can say, but this is not artistic expression, the person claims. It is a deliberate act of cruelty. And so the second reason would be exploitation of pain. Ye's claims that his inability to see his children drove him to this philosophy is a grotesque manipulation. It equates personal struggles with the ideology that fueled an event, cheapening both that event's gravity and his own circumstances. This narrative also risks resonating with others who feel disenfranchised, and we're actually going to talk about that soon, potentially radicalizing vulnerable listeners. The third reason, spreading hate. And this person has claimed 32 million followers, which Ye would be mad about on X. With 32 million followers on X, Ye's influence is undeniable. His rhetoric provides a megaphone for anti-Semitic tropes, fueling real-world harm. The ADL has noted a rise in that sort of violence globally, and Ye's words contribute to this climate of fear. His collaboration with figures like Fuentes, a known event denier, further legitimizes extremist ideologies. And the fourth reason this person gave is moral bankruptcy. I'm not going to comment. Ye's defenders, including some ex-users, argue that those words is a troll, or a bid for attention, but provocation for provocation's sake is not neutral when it targets a certain group. The song's catchy production, well, at least you admitted that. And yes, because I mean, there's nobody that's saying it isn't. I mean, really, I think that's even people that are criticizing it. I mean, just in general, and people that like it, and anybody is admitting it's catchy. And they would say that's part of the problem because, you know, when you're creating such a thing that, you know, resonates with people sonically, that's obviously helping spread whatever message you're talking about. But the song's catchy production and Ye's cultural cachet risk normalizing hate, making it palatable to fans who might otherwise reject such ideas. So, yeah. Basically, this is just calling him out for those reasons. We kind of read that through that article just to show you guys what's being talked about, but just the event itself, like, I mean, you know, Kanye dropping this song is what I mean by that. To be clear, we're just talking about what is happening, just trying to show perspectives on it so that we can further discuss it beyond that while still treading lightly. So I'm just going to, I guess, continue a bit here on talking about it because I don't know how much Mr. Greg wants to comment unless he does.
I don't think it should be banned. I'll say that.
You mean, yeah, like off of even like, because the argument here as well that people will continuously make is that, you know, despite it being a thing of free speech where, you know, in the United States, you should, you know, like people would mostly argue here as opposed to in other places, you know, depending on what the culture is like, that you shouldn't be arrested. You shouldn't have any political action taken against you, but they'll still say, well, it's a private company and thus, you know, they should be able to do as they please. And if they don't think it's profitable or they don't think it's something that's worth, I guess, you know, hurting their, I mean, people don't usually put it at like the incentives of the companies, but they obviously understand that those are there. But they usually target it for saying like, you know, well, you're saying something hateful, so thus they should be able to take that down too. But, you know, whether it's the moral qualms or the financial qualms, they say that these companies should be able to do that.
I mean, are they private? That's a great question.
I mean, yeah, I like, it's kind of hard because no matter what industry you're really talking about, there are just guardrails and barriers of entry for new companies. So obviously competition is affected by the government itself. I mean, if we're just talking here about, you know, the market is not truly free. So to say like, go build your own X, or, you know, I just mean like example of whatever thing, not literally X the platform. I know how that can sound confusing, but I'm just saying, go build your own whatever, you know, like, and I'm not talking about the show. I know Mr. Greg's going to come up with that right there, but I'm just saying like, you know, people complain about like, oh, well, all over the internet, I can't really post, you know, whatever. And so like, they're like, oh, well, go build your own internet is basically the argument at that point, when the infrastructure laid down is very much, you know, something that would take so much investment to build yourself. And, you know, there obviously is a demand for it, which is why we're seeing more of it with the Platform X, where Ye can even post his song. And, you know, other platforms, I know even there was one point where he was trying to buy Parler. Parler became a thing for a bit. He was trying to buy it. It kind of just shut down, but X kind of became that void. It kind of filled that void. There were other things like that before, like Gab was there. Minds, like things were like that, where you could still speak freely on certain platforms because the major ones were very much limiting towards that. But now you have X, and not only that, but you have like Instagram's a lot more, I guess, open with what you can say now, which we can kind of discuss the motives if you want about that. I'm not sure if you do.
Well, I wasn't even talking about the guardrails, which is also a valid point. I mean, like literally, most of these companies, a lot of these companies that are big in any kind of industry, they are deliberately feeding off of your tax dollars in some way. Like they're getting subsidized,
I
or they're
mean,
getting
yeah,
some kind of kickback from the government. So at that point, it's not really a private company.
a lot of companies that is the case. I don't know how much we can, you know, directly point, as far as the knowledge we have to social media companies, but we can at least say that there has been government influence as far as them demanding, even privately, like, I mean, I just mean outside of our awareness, to remove things like, especially when it came to, I think it was like they were asking, I don't know if it was Facebook or who, to remove stuff about Biden, but obviously the Hunter Biden laptop thing as well, that, we had known about. But I mean, it goes deeper than that. Obviously, these are just major stories that I'm pointing to as examples. But I would say at that point you could assume at least that if the government does have some sort of, I mean, obviously the government could pressure these companies. We just don't know exactly how, but we could kind of assume that there could be finances involved, if not just the sanctions being you're going to face legal penalties if you don't follow what we're saying, which still then wouldn't make it or having the ability to have open platforms.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, the only reason a lot of these platforms have these rules, these guidelines within their contracts and whatnot, is because of pressure like that, like financial pressure. Oh, you need to do X, Y, and Z, or you're not going to be eligible for X amount of loans or X amount of benefits that'll keep you afloat because the market is competitive as much as you are in line of government values. But aside from that, I don't give a shit for the most part. Whenever somebody makes a song or like an album that's like offensive, I'm not signing off on it. I don't even really care for it. As Mr. Ahmed knows, I'm not a big fan of hip hop music at all. Uh, so I mean, the song itself is kind of whatever. But I could just, you know what I do, despite that fact, I just don't listen to it. Isn't that crazy? It's amazing how that works so well. You know,
Have you
I feel
seen,
so upset that
the
all these
post where it's like,
genres on
I'm
like
just saying, have
streaming
you seen the
platforms,
post
all these
where
music. But then
I
what I
keep
could
coming
just
in
do
when you're
is
trying to talk? I'm sorry. It's I keep thinking you're done there, and then I'm like talking, and I think it's a bit of a delay, but issue. But I think you're
it
gonna
is.
have that regardless, unless we're on like Discord or something. I was just gonna say, have you seen? I don't know if whose tweet it was, but it was like, how is cyberbullying an issue? Just close your computer.
Yeah. But see, like people use that as like a meme or whatever, or like making fun of that argument, but it's like it's real. Just close your goddamn computer or sign off for whatever app it is. You know, like
Yeah, I mean, unless
it's
there's
one
like some
thing if
sort of
like
like
it's affecting your livelihood or whatever, but I mean, if it's just some loser on
right.
the internet or whatever that's making your time rough, it's like, okay, until it comes into the real world and affects you in a negative way where you can't control it, then who gives a shit?
Yeah. So the thing is that when it comes to Gen Z's reaction to this, and the author from the article that we had previously written was pointing out that there could be, because of the catchy nature of the song, people that are more inclined to repeat the lyrics and hype it up and all that. But anyway, so it's being called Song of the Summer, and from people like Nick Fuentes, outside of that, are just reacting to the song, and sort of, chanting along with it. Obviously, we can't do that on like YouTube. I'm not saying we would. I'm just saying, like, people in general. Um, but people in general would do that. I saw a
Starting
guy
digging us
streaming
into a
that.
hole.
I'm digging. I'm saying, like, I saw a guy who was
Oh,
doing that. He was reacting to it. I don't know what platform he was on. Maybe he was like on Kick or one of those platforms, but like he was streaming to it and he was literally just chanting it. Like, so, and the chat was going nuts. And obviously when you get a certain reaction like that, you're more inclined to do it. Right. So, I mean, point being is that, not only that, like it was mentioned, it's a catchy song. So obviously people are more, again, inclined to do that as well. It had been trending on Instagram even prior to its release. I mean, people were putting missions and stuff over that. It was like, it was a meme. But despite that, obviously there are going to be people that are offended by it, but I really haven't seen all too much of that, as much as you would think that there would be by this point. But even beyond that, the people that you would think wouldn't have, I guess, talked about World War II in the light that is like as mainstream. Like, there are YouTube channels like this, but like including Zoomer Historian is one. His reaction on Twitter to this, was that I'll just straight up say the tweet, or I guess, no, I mean, I guess I could just, aside from the name of who he's referencing, but Hler, the painter, would blow his own head off a second time if he were resurrected and saw this, is what he said. So you would think that when people like that, who, he's not completely hiding his perspective on, historical events, especially including World War II. You would think that people of that persuasion that would think that, which their persuasion is that the painter is not some sort of unique evil compared to, other leaders of the world and such. You would think that somebody who wants to spread that idea would be more open to somebody that is a musician putting out such a catchy song that involves people at a rate that they have not at any point probably since World War II chanting those words, the HH words. You would think that this would be a celebratory moment for people of that persuasion, no?
I mean, generally,
I mean,
yes.
there are people, right. There are people that have problems with it because like they don't like the fact that, it's like, well, and you even mentioned you're not a fan of hip hop or anything, but the fact that this is at the level it's at, it's just, even if they were against hip hop as a genre, or they don't like the fact, who Kanye is as a person, maybe even like what origin he has, there are people that don't like that. But just point being is that you would think this, no? You would think that they would like the fact that this is a cultural moment.
Yeah, I was gonna say the first thing I would have thought in regards to people that are of that persuasion is that the issue would be uh, the historical and cultural baggage of not only the style of which this message is presented, but also the background of the artist himself. That was like the first thing I would think of. Yeah, they're not gonna like this because of that. Like, if you're thinking of someone like Nick
Yeah.
Fuentes, kind of unique in that sphere where he doesn't really give a shit.
Yeah, that is fair because I mean Nick even came out, we talked about his reaction to even Cousins released by Kanye, and it definitely seemed like he wasn't even going to, it just seems like there's nothing that can really make him stop being a Kanye West fan. And so, it's I really don't think he never had a problem with Kanye to begin with. There was no issue with who Kanye is to him, including the fact that Nick, as much as he's called like I mean we can. I guess we can't debate that on here necessarily, but he's been labeled as a white supremacist, and he's expressed views that you could see as like definitely like not even arguably express views that are like race realist. So just on that front, you would think, okay, well, typically a person like that would be like, oh, well, this is a black person, whatever. And but Nick isn't like that. He has friends. I know I'm not trying to like make some argument where it's like, oh, I have black friends though, but I'm just saying like he doesn't have a problem associating with himself with black people or other people, like in general. He doesn't seem to have that issue ever, even if like the people that are of his base don't like that. They typically complain that he even does this, but he's like, I'm just going to do it. He's talked about this openly. I mean, so yeah, he definitely is different in that regard. You're right. But beyond that, yeah, I talked about how this has not been limited on Twitter. So basically, yeah, you can find it there. But I was going to talk about Kanye's interview with Piers Morgan earlier in the week because he had joined, and like I had mentioned in the last stream, Sneeko has been somebody that's been in his circle again recently, and as well, like streamers Aiden Ross, Neon, and such went with him onto Piers Morgan's show, and Ye was pretty much like upset right at the beginning because Piers Morgan had called him Kanye West, and he was like, talking about like this is Kanye West and stuff, and then, or I think he even said Ye West, not even Kanye West. He was like this Ye West, and then Kanye was talking to Sneeko, and you can kind of hear like mumbles in the back, and he's like, yeah, why is he calling me like West? And he's like, Piers, I don't know, like how you missed it, but I don't go by West anymore. I don't go by that name. I just go by Ye. And then Piers is like, oh, okay. And then Piers, we're just gonna kind of play some of these clips actually, rather than me explaining that part. But Piers asked him basically like, how's your life right now? And we're going to see that as like one of the, I mean, if anything, only questions that he even got Ye, because Ye walked off during the interview. But we're going to watch this part. Let me pull this up. You guys, we did have a little bit of issue with streaming last time, but it seems like the delay is better this time. So I mean, like there's not really as much issue. And there's my profile for the people that haven't joined the stream yet. There's my profile picture. But yeah, we're going to take a look at some of the clips from the show. And mind you, the total length of the YouTube video that Piers had uploaded based on this interview was like 17 minutes and change. So it did not go on for long whatsoever. At least like 2 or 3 minutes of that were introduction.
How would you say your life is at the moment?
I mean, you see that view.
he just doesn't even want to like expound upon that. Like, he doesn't want to expand there. He's just saying like, hey man, look at the view. Look at the view behind me, right? You know how my life is. And so, Piers is thinking like, I'm going to get this guy, to say, like maybe, I don't even know if he's going to get him to say his life is bad, but he's going to get me to say something, explain something that, I get for my viewers. It's going to look good on my show. He's not going to be able to explain himself properly. But then Kanye is like, yeah, man, just check out my view. It's just definitely a Chad move there for Mystery A. He's a professional level troll, honestly. I mean, just between his ability to conduct interviews the way he does, I'm gonna finish this thought, just because of the way how he's able to conduct interviews, and as well like the music he's been releasing, just and the tweets he's been putting out. Just between all of this, Kanye is a D1 rage baiter.
Yes, indeed.
You were gonna finish, or you were gonna introduce some thought there?
I just said it is a nice view.
Oh, yeah, it is. They're in Spain.
Oh.
Yeah, very classy. Okay, so we're going to take a look at what upset Ye during this interview with Piers. Like, why did he walk off? We're going to find that out right here in this next clip, as soon as it loads here. Just hopefully when I share the next tab, let's see if we can do it to where I can just switch tabs. And it'll give us the audio. Let me try that out. Let's try that out. Okay. Can you hear it? Is that audible?
No.
Oh, yeah. See, no. I don't know why it is. It's like that on StreamYard as well. When you do that, like when you switch a tab while screen sharing, you just can't hear it anymore for some reason. So we're gonna have to okay. So here is this clip as far as what upset Mr. West.
I watched what you put out on X. You got 32 million followers, so you're one of the most followed people.
See, wait, now look right now. You're not gonna take inches off a dick, bro. Like, how many followers do I have?
Well, how many is it?
I think you could do the study. You got a whole staff over there.
He's like, I'm not about to tell you that. Hey, you guys are the researchers over here. And like, he's rage baiting Piers so hard right here. I don't know, like, is he being this serious? Like, because I know Ye gets upset when people like say something about him that he isn't a fan of, and he starts to like kind of disassociate with people whenever they do these things, or like do something that like upsets them, like leaving an interview. But I just like, he must be he must be fully aware of what he's doing right here, because I mean, I know he did this with Tim Pool as well, where he walked off his show. And you know, you could obviously tell that like it seemed like he was genuinely upset, but at the same time, Tim even has theorized, you know, it's like, oh, well, you know, I think he just wanted an attention grab like there with that moment. Like he just wanted something that was going to like blow up and like everybody's going to be talking about it. So, I mean, it's fair enough that this might've happened here too. I think Kanye is really good at that. Like he knows exactly what he's doing when it comes to these things. So, I mean, I feel like it's almost like, even though Kanye, you could consider him like, he's kind of like basically autistic, and he's even said it himself, that, you know, despite all that, he definitely knows what he's doing. He's aware of like, you know, how it affects people when he's doing this stuff. So obviously, like, I think he just wants, possibly just wants the attention, even if maybe it does bother him. I don't know, but I'm not even sure. What do you think?
I'm not familiar with his character to really say which one it is, besides the fact that both are maybe not equally, but likely, given what I do know.
What is your impression of when he talks like this? Like, I guess we could go into it a little bit more if you want to wait on that, but I just kind of want to know what your impression of it is. Let's go ahead and see him walk off. Actually, let's see that, and then I'll ask.
What
you
it was
again.
33 million. How many? You obviously know.
I mean, no, I mean, don't help them out. You know, they.
I'm told it's
whatever you
33
want,
million now, so congratulations. Slightly bigger following than I thought.
No, congratulations. Your information is correct. You're not just some, you know, dude trying to sell. You know, I'm. You know what I mean? Why do all you people in media act like you haven't played my songs at your weddings or graduations or at funerals or when you're born? You know, you take somebody that's living like a Lennon, a Michael Jackson, and you just take all this time to just like that nuance right there. It's idiotic. It just shows the hate that you put out for people that put love. There's so much love in the art that I put out.
What's he talking about?
I mean, you know, I can get it. Like, you know, basically it's over 1 million follows like that. I'm not saying I understand Kanye's perspective. I mean, like I do, but like at the same time, it's more like what I'm trying to say here is that I understand Pierce's confusion, even though he's just definitely like as well, like a clout chaser, but I understand why he's like, what, you know, what are you talking about? Like, you know, this is, I just got your followers wrong by 1 million, you know, it obviously seems like to me, he was looking for the first thing he could latch onto to get upset about. I really think that's what it is. I think so, because you know what else is he going off of here? Why did he get so upset about that? He could have just been like, it's 33, you know, or something like that. Because I mean, Kanye in the past has been on. I mean, he's walked off, I think, as well, a Piers Morgan interview, and then like came back. But you know, if he doesn't like what's being said, he's even gone as far as to go like la 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 la, or like call Piers Morgan boy. So, you know, if he really wants to contest what's being said, he's going to do it. So it just seems like he possibly is just trying to find that moment. I think likely, not even possibly, probably trying to find that moment that he could find just to be like, yeah, this is what I'm going to walk off about.
I haven't said anything.
What do you got? It's 30. Okay, now you're not taking accountability or responsibility.
That's such a gaslighting statement right there. I love it, man. I mean, Piers deserves it. Of all people, he deserves it.
You know, I haven't played your music. Of course, I played your music.
No, sir. This is what you get for now. We can circle back when you can count.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, what do you think, Mr. Greg?
I'm generally of the opinion that his mental state and his personality combined would have put him in a position where that would genuinely be something that would upset him.
I mean, I could see that too, but I don't know. It based on how much he's rage baiting, it's like, could he not just be like, I guess, just, you know, thinking about all of this the way I'm kind of saying he is right now? Like, isn't that possible, or not even just possible, but probable?
Well, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just telling you what my first reaction
was. Well, I'm saying, I'm asking about the probability specifically. Like, you know, if you're Kanye here, and I mean, you like, he doesn't have a lot going on as far as like making money right now. Like, I mean, obviously he has money, but his, you know, Yeezy got taken down. Like after he, I mean, obviously he knew there was going to be some sort of ramification for putting out that shirt, I'm sure, but it got him a lot of attention. He's put out music, but now he doesn't even put it out under Kanye West. At least right now, he's putting it out under Ye. And you know, obviously, there's a perspective where he's like, "Oh, well, you know, I just don't want to use that name, you know, such and such reason." But at the same time, like, who knows if he even owns the right to his own name at that point? Because he's, I mean, I know he's been dropped by record labels, but obviously, you know, who knows how many contracts he didn't get out of, right? I mean, I haven't looked at every single, you know, one or not, you know, those aren't often like widely reported. But it's just, you know, it just seems like all of this could be a ploy for attention very well. I mean, you know, that's what he did back when he went on InfoWars and all this and Timcast. I mean, it really didn't seem like he necessarily wanted to have a conversation as much as he just did want to, I mean, rage bait again. I mean, that's what he's been doing for all this time. Like, to go on InfoWars, like with the net and the Yoo-hoo and all that. And I mean, just like saying the things he said. I mean, we know what he said. We're not going to say it here, obviously, because, you know, again, where we are, but it just seems like the probability has to be like, bro is just finding any way he can to troll. I mean, and obviously, like, I think that just is kind of reflected by his musical choices as of late, because I mean, he's leaning into these jokes about him. He's heavily leaning into these jokes about him. It's not even like he's, you know, just doing these things and then, you know, people ridicule him. It's like, haha, you don't even realize how much of a, you know, like how much you're actually a caricature of yourself. But, you know, he's just, you know, talking about nitrous on these songs. I mean, the fact that he does that, you know, like, you know, nitrous don't help me, it just put me in a trance or whatever. He just like replaces Dave Blunt's song with nitrous instead of Xanax or whatever it is. And then he just goes on to like be like, I'm in love with the nitrous. Like, come on. And then the use of Dave Blunt as a person writing for him and writing the most preposterous stuff possible. And I mean, writing things like Hler, you know, the Painter, Ye, and Jesus. I mean, it's just, you know, those are unreleased songs from him at this point. But I mean, even the ones he's released so far, it just seems like all he's doing is trying to get headlines. I mean, and trying to get people, trying to spark controversy.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely possible. I'm just not familiar enough with him to really give a solid stance either way.
I'm just saying that's where the signs point to. Like, I mean, I was concerned when I first saw him on like nitrous. I didn't even know about that until you know, the whole dentist situation happened, where there was like, it came out that this dentist was supplying him with it, and he was like basically trying to get as much money as he could from Ye. But you know, I was concerned for his well-being at that point, but, and obviously I still kind of, I mean, I am, because of that effect on your brain. But it just seems like he's so cognizant of, you know, and aware of what he's doing, that I'm like, it probably isn't the case that he's just like dealing with such brain damage that's just causing him to act out like this, as much as it is him just being so rich and so successful that he's like, what now? You know, it's like, what else can I do? Like, what am I supposed to do now? You know, but then also getting screwed the way he did. I mean, obviously, you know, like nobody's contesting that, you know, that happened to him. So, I mean, just all that together kind of creates that storm of like, yeah, man, I'm just going to do whatever, you know, I'm just going to say whatever I want. And so we have Sarah Lewis in the chat saying, rip Ye. And that Ye was never really the same after his mom died. Shaking my head. I mean, that is true. Definitely. He acted out a lot more after that, even in ways that hurt his career, and that he acknowledged that were hurting his career, and he had to make comebacks from, like when he was at the music awards and interrupting Taylor Swift's acceptance of her award, and then, you know, saying like, but Beyonce had the best video, like, you know, and then having to come back from that with My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Definitely Kanye was very aware of the effect that this had on him, even with the song Wolves. If you listen to that, he's like, if your mom could see what, you know, you're doing now, like, you know, how would she feel about that? Is basically the message there. And so, yeah, I mean, he even acknowledges that he's thought of, you know, like self-deletion and stuff like that, in certain songs, like past that point when his mom passed. And he's had a lot of struggles with that event because, he cared a lot about her, significantly so. And so, I mean, it definitely affected his mental health a lot. And, but these days, I don't know if that's really like, I mean, he's changed, but I don't know if that's really what's gotten to him still. Like, I mean, you could say that at one point, but these days, obviously it has to do with his, marriage falling apart basically. And like his, his ability to see his kids. I think those are very much, prominent in why he feels like acting out too.
Yeah, I'm definitely not up to date with the Ye lore.
Yeah. But I mean, so we kind of got your impression of that, at least as an outsider seeing how it looks. Do you think that his song will be song of the summer? Just as an objective, yes or no, is it going to be played massively, especially now given that, because I thought it would be, but now given that it can't even be posted on streaming, I think that's going to significantly affect, and it could have never been on radio, but I think that's going to significantly affect its spread culturally. But it has been played on Instagram Reels so much that I'm like, it still could spread easily.
No, I don't see it having any kind of widespread fame or marketability because of the fact that it's basically blacklisted on everything. The most you could get is when you get those really weird meme songs that are like viral on Instagram and used over like comedy reels. That's the best I can see. But since it's already blacklisted on every other music format, it's not going to have any kind of build like that.
That's going to impact how people are actually listening to it for sure, because that you're not going to have people like jamming to it in the car as much because they have no way to just pull it up. I mean, even on YouTube, it's being taken down. So if it's even being taken down on YouTube, like how are people going to access it to the point where they're just like playing it in the car, like riding somewhere, like playing it? I mean, there are people playing it on blast in public already, but that's not really, I guess, the point, because that's, people tend to do that with many absurd things. And oftentimes that doesn't mean it just like, keeps being played, especially, by like, I guess, normies or whatever. But I think if it were allowed on streaming, that would have definitely changed things. It could have gotten way bigger than it already was, I think, that way.
Now, here's a question I have. What would your typical like far left kind of person think about this situation? Because you got a lot of things going on here. You've got,
honestly, it would probably be played at the Palestine rallies, dude. Like I could see it. Them just being like, you know what? Might as well. Oh, that was the wrong song.
I don't know. I don't know if I could sign off on that being a possibility. Well,
might as well.
But I don't know if it would happen.
I could see them doing that, man. I could see them being like, you know what? Whatever. I'm just going to play this because, part of, protests as well. And part of their goal is to be also inflammatory. I feel like there's overlap in that regard, even if they have problems, when it comes to like, they're like, oh, you're a fascist or whatever. But I mean, just this alone, that the fact that it could be so, I mean, inflammatory again, it could cause so much attention. And I guess like, bring them a lot more press on their issues so that, that would definitely incentivize them, I think.
I don't know. But what I was going to say was that you got the systematic censoring of it, which, I mean,
yeah,
historically, they've not really given a shit about that if it's quote unquote the right thing to censor. But there's that. And then on the other hand, you've got it coming out right at the Palestine shit and all that. That's true. And then there's also the freedom of expression and all that. So you've got like a bunch of things that could make you go either way, is what I'm saying.
Let's see what we got. We have Sarah Lewis saying, someone needs to do a study on the "my personal life is in shambles" pipeline into right-wing extremism like Kanye, Elon, Rogan, etc. I mean, at that point, What? Yeah. What? Like, is it just some sort of irrelevant connection? I'm sorry.
I mean, I guess you could maybe make the argument that like Rogan is like anti. No, is he? He's not anti-jab, is he? Hello.
I don't know what you were saying there. I don't know if you're. Yeah, I don't know if you were cutting out for a second or what.
Oh, I was just kind of confused
Okay.
on what where
Yeah.
Rogan has endorsed kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, Rogan specifically, I would say, you know, I think the claim here would probably have to do with Trump support or like prior, I guess, like, you know, not being a fan of a certain shot. So I don't know exactly what, you know, Rogan's part is other than that. But, you know, like there's a different level to Rogan and Elon where they're just kind of like MAGA. I don't really know that you could classify what, you know, where Ye's at with them. Like, I actually wouldn't even say that because, like, you know, Fuentes is just a completely different group than these people. I mean, he, you know, even like as far as like, you know, in terms of like support for like the mainstream MAGA isn't really a fan of them.
Well, I could definitely see how you would get to the conclusion of Elon, especially with his tweets in the past, and then also the thing with the hand gesture was not doing him any favors.
I was thinking about that too. That was the first thing I thought of. I was picturing him doing it when I was reading that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously like, I think just as well, like, the economy being where it's at too, and like people's financial situations. And obviously that just goes into the my personal life is in shambles thing. But I mean, that obviously radicalizes people into wanting some sort of like stronger leadership. And that can get them to the point where they're like some sort of action needs to be taken about what's happening right now, whether it be in that person's life or, I mean, just in general, the situation you see around you, which I mean, just ties into your own personal life. But I mean, at that point, we just kind of be analyzing, you know, how it went around the first time and why it did. And kind of just showing that, you know, there's a lot of similarities today. And Sarah was saying, I'm pretty sure that Rogan used to be a Bernie supporter, but after COVID happened, he went a lot more right wing / MAGA. I mean, I think that just is populist, you know? I think there's a lot of overlap between why somebody would support Bernie and Trump. Because it just seems like they both want, you know, that sort of, you know, at least in the ideas, like the philosophy as far as why people join these movements or that movement, I would say is, and, you know, there were Bernie supporters that went over to Trump after Bernie, you know, like, you know, didn't win in the primaries and stuff. They just want somebody that they view as like promoting the welfare of the people. And those both are people that you could tie that to as far as, you know, I guess like prominent figures. So yeah, but we were going to talk about the new Pope. I talked about it at the beginning a little bit. The new Pope is American. I don't know how much you've heard about this already, but he's from Chicago. And I was a little nervous, like I said at the beginning, when I heard the new Pope was from Chicago. I had seen a tweet, though, that I thought it was kind of funny. Somebody said, wow, American made Pope. Didn't expect the tariffs to work this quickly. I mean, I'm not pro tariffs. I've said that, you know, in previous streams. I don't even think, you know, I mean, obviously this is a joke. I'm just thinking, there was an actual connection being drawn saying like, you know, like this is, you know, part of, what Trump is going to celebrate. I mean, he did, but also like this sort of, you know, America is already seen as like this influential force it is in the world, obviously, but, you know, this just kind of furthers that as well. I don't really think it's connected specifically to tariffs or anything like that. I don't even know about it being connected to Trump being in office or anything like that. I don't really think so, but yeah, I don't know. There are some people that might actually say something like that. I could see it. People saying oh, Trump, you know, or, you know, because things like this happen when we have Trump or have tariffs or whatever. I could see that being said.
See, but even
Like the MAGA side of
like-
conservatism.
why would it matter that much? Because a lot of the MAGA base, even if they're Christian, I wouldn't assume the majority are even Catholic. So who gives a shit from their perspective?
Well, ones that are calling the Pope what? The new Pope.
I mean,
I can further explain this. I'm gonna get into it a little bit here. So there was something, not that he did, but I guess, well, as Pope, but as a whatever position he was, I don't know. But basically he had tweeted an article out that somebody else had written that was saying JD Vance, the vice president, is wrong for stating that there is a Christian concept. This is a quote from JD Vance directly. There is a Christian concept that you love your family, and then you love your neighbor, and then you love your community, and then you love your fellow citizens, and then after that prioritize the rest of the world. A lot of the far left has completely inverted that. So basically, like, this Pope, I don't know exactly when he tweeted out. Let me check the date on that. But he had tweeted this article out. He didn't written this article, but he had tweeted the person that tweeted that article. And so let me find it. But people are saying Pope is woke because of his position on immigration, or at least being I guess they would call it globalist or whatever. I don't think you're going to get a Pope that is siding on the side that, there ought to be closed borders, and that, you ought to prioritize, your in-group, because that's just kind of the altruism that comes with religion in general, but also just with Christianity. So, I really don't think this is a sort of thing that you'll see where they're just like, yeah, how about we just support that? How about a certain race of people, as superior to another? I don't think you're going to see that within Christianity, at least within, a higher ranking, or the highest in Catholicism, but I just mean a top level sort of thing. But Fuentes himself said, he was like, oh, I don't expect the Pope, and he was talking about the prior Pope when this was said. This was who was there, but he was like, I don't expect the Pope to be like, yeah, in support of whites or whatever specifically, and to be closed borders and America first and stuff like that, or whatever have you, basically because he was like, there's no way you're gonna have that. The Pope is the Pope of the world. There are different kinds of people, races that are Christian and Catholic, so obviously you're not going to have them favoring a certain group of that. And so I don't know how your values as somebody that is a race realist and all that would necessarily align at that point. That's kind of what I was thinking. I'm like, how exactly would that work out when you're like, okay, well, the Pope should believe that, but me at the same time, I'm going to believe that, and I'm just saying from Fuentes' perspective that, I ought to have this in-group preference.
Yeah, the most you can get in terms of the Catholic Church supporting some kind of right-wing agenda or whatever is if it's against communists because they're anti-religious. But that's not really the same thing.
It would be things like abortion, in vitro fertilization, homosexuality, stuff like that.
But even then, even if you are going for the anti-communist route, they're only tangentially really supporting nationalism, because even in the context of when nationalism first starts in Europe, you see a decline of the church. I don't really think that's a coincidence, because once you have people preferring their in-group, even if not for in any kind of racist way necessarily, but just oh, well, I live in Germany, so I should think about Germany first. Or, oh, I live in Italy, so clearly I'm going to think about Italy first. That's still not a position that the church is necessarily okay with, because then you're kind of undermining, even if not explicitly, the authority of the church, which is within itself a problem.
Yeah, so exactly. I don't see how you could hold both views. Like, I'm a Catholic, I'm a devout Catholic. I believe in the authority of the Catholic Church, and at the same time, I hold these other positions, like America First and such.
You could get a better approximation if you're coming from a Protestant perspective. But even then, the goal is to make the nations of Christ. So at that point, it's just you don't have any nations anymore. You're all Christian. That's all that matters.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of why I'm like, I mean, whichever view you're of, I don't really think that's relevant. I'm just saying, like, I don't think they're compatible.
We got a few comments there.
Okay, let's see what Sarah said. I actually read something from a cardinal that said that an American pope would not be possible as long as America is the main superpower, because globally it would be too much influence. But I don't know. And then this is a quote, apparently. Until America goes into political decline, there won't be an American people. If I'm old politically, culturally, economically, I'm over here misreading things. Sorry. Until America goes into political decline, there won't be an American pope. If America is running the world politically, culturally, economically, they don't want America running the world religiously. Okay. I don't know which cardinal said this. I don't know if you could say that in the chat or what.
I would actually counter that, because with granted, I'm not a cardinal or anything, but if the church is declining, and the Catholic Church, while it still is numerous, is to an extent at least declining, it would be advantageous if they coupled with the dominant superpower culturally, politically, economically, which would be America. So I think, if anything, they'd be incentivized for an American pope, because, well, especially when you think about how everyone's pretty connected now too. Like, the last pope before Francis was Polish. A lot of people can't even point to Poland on a map, no matter where you are. But a lot of people know about America because of its influence on the market, its influence on the culture, et cetera, et cetera. So if you combine that with the Catholic Church, then Catholic nations are going to have much more, I don't know, draw to it, because it's in line with what the zeitgeist is now, which is American for the most part.
Okay, so she says I actually lied. The article says it was Robert Barron, Bishop of the Diocese of Winona, Rochester in Minnesota, if I'm reading. You said what?
I said diocese.
Well, so I guess that's kind of covering our thoughts specifically on that position, but I don't know. Do you know much about the new pope? Have you looked in? I mean, I know you didn't know much about his positions, but do you really know anything? He didn't even seem like the top contender, right? I thought they were talking about Sarah. I forgot his last name.
That guy looks
black
like
one.
He enjoys a deep dish pizza.
That's the real pope from Chicago. You know what I'm saying?
For real.
Okay. But did you have any other thoughts on that?
Do you think Italians will get upset if he starts implementing weekly deep dish pizza days in the Vatican?
Yeah, they definitely will be. He's gonna say that, you don't need to keep the pasta together, you know what I'm saying? You just break that shit, bro.
You make him sound like he's black. What the fuck?
Well, he's from Chicago.
Yeah, but isn't he Italian?
Well, he's still gonna sound like he's not Italian, right?
I mean,
he's gonna be like, hey man, you can break the pasta, man. It's whatever, man.
Like Tony Soprano or some shit. I mean, I know it's New York, or New Jersey, same shit, but close enough.
Yeah.
Hey,
what you doing with the pasta? You don't need to keep it together. You don't need to keep the pasta together. You just break that shit up, put it in the pot.
Why does it sound so familiar?
Well, I was just doing
That sounds
similar to Tony Soprano right there.
really familiar, but like that exact like sentence.
I don't know.
What's strange?
I don't know. I'm walking here.
I saw somebody say the first.
Hey! You gonna give me that big hat or what?
Hey, I'm preaching here. Get in the pews. About
hey, Jesus. I'm praying here. I'm blessing here.
Yeah, those are my thoughts.
So cool. I did want to ask you because, you know, I had asked you before the show, what was your knowledge of India and Pakistan? You were saying mostly this was like a historical understanding you have rather than the current situation. But I kind of wanted to ask about that because I really don't know too much. Barely. I know the basics, but I'm just kind of looking for some more information on that so we can maybe understand how it led up to where it is now. So let's talk about the Third World War.
Nobody else is going to get that reference.
Well, we'll just wait on that one.
Wait for what?
So you're going to say it? Are you going to... I was waiting for you to just talk about the history.
Oh, of India and Pakistan?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought you were still talking about the reference. I was like, I'm not going to give him the reference. That's too much info. But anyway, unless she comes on the show. But anyway, so what's happening here with the India-Pakistan thing, basically, is that India and Pakistan historically were, it's not exactly accurate to say the same country, depending on what time period you're talking about, but generally the cultures that make up India and Pakistan are linked. You couldn't even really say they're homogenous because that's also not accurate, but they were linked basically. And then after a lot of history happening, a good portion of India became Muslim via not migrations, conquests, going east from the Middle East. So a good chunk of Indians or Pakistanis, whatever you want to call them, people from the Indian subcontinent became Muslim. And then when the British took over, the Indians fought for their independence and all that. But then immediately after, there was a huge dispute over religion because a good portion of specifically the northern part of India, or the Indian subcontinent, I should say, was devoutly Muslim and much more aligned with their other neighbors like Afghanistan and even to an extent Iran, although that's not really the case anymore. But so they were more aligned with that, whereas the people in the more central parts and like southern parts of India, if you want to call it that, had a much more quote unquote traditional religion, which is, being Hindu, being Sikh, etc., etc. And what happened was there's a great civil war, essentially, and that's what led to the borders we have now. So essentially, the chunk of that is Pakistan was part of India at one point. So ever since then, they've been having border disputes because of how similar the cultures are and how much overlap there is, specifically in that region too. In terms of like ethnic groups and whatnot, they're just constantly at each other's throats. If I could give it like an equivalent, it's kind of like, I want to say similar to like Ireland and Northern Ireland, maybe. But
and
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I've seen that India attacked Pakistan recently, but I had seen they had also had like this sort of daily event where they would like meet at the border and like sort of like taunt each other.
Yeah, that sounds like something they would do. Also, they both have nukes.
Yeah, I had seen it. I had seen videos of them like they're like, like dancing. I don't know if it's like with a sword or a gun. I can't remember, but they're like pretending to like, attack almost. They're just edging it.
I'm edging it.
I'm about to blow. But yeah, so I mean,
yeah,
was it just only a matter of time before this happened then?
yeah, and some idiot gave one of them nukes, so to balance it out, they had to give the other country nukes. Which, I mean, I don't know if that was the best idea, but yeah. So
That's not good.
I don't
I
even
mean, I
know
already knew
if we
about
should
that, but
keep
it's guys, it's just not good. I mean, I don't really think I could offer that on YouTube, but anyway,
I mean, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
that's it.
China could do something really funny right now. So we have Sarah here saying, do y'all remember the video of that girl that was like, I will sacrifice my life for Pakistan? Well, now is your moment. I haven't seen that. It sounds vaguely familiar.
I thought that was a little boy. I could be wrong, I guess. But there's like a video that was like a meme for a bit where they had, I don't know if it was like a school thing or whatever, but they had like all these students or like these kids coming up in Pakistan to like a woman, and they would just say something about like their loyalty to Pakistan, like, when I grow up, I'm going to be an Air Force fighter, and I will defend the motherland of Pakistan and shit like that. And it goes for like 3 minutes.
Yeah, that's the one where she goes, "Wow, so much color."
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Dude, I remember that. Yeah. Dude, it's been years since I've seen that thing. That's like, dude, has that been like a decade?
I think at least, yeah.
It has to have been. Hold on. I'm seeing uploads from like 4 years ago, but I know it had to be from further back than 4 years ago, though. This can't just have been 4 years ago. Okay. So
wow,
there's
great.
we'll watch that one. Hold on. No one will have to cut it. Okay. Let me post that here in a second. Get that up. Okay.
My plan is that I pilot and I help everyone.
That didn't even make sense.
Yeah, he's the pilot. You see, this is the spread. We love Pakistan.
My pledge to my country is that when I will grow up, I will be the scientist like Dr. Abdul Qadir Khan.
It's unintelligible.
Pakistan making
Why are they doing this in English? It's so that they could have like gotten attention from other countries, like to make like US content basically like oriented. Because is it like that stuff where it's like how Indians make content where they're playing those games where they like roll like the balls down like the thing and like to get the like the bottles of oil and stuff. They're like, oh wow, you make 3 score, you get bottle of cooking oil.
Well, first of all, this is Pakistan. This is a completely different country. Racist. Anyway.
Well, I'm just saying that, you know, they're clearly they're taking inspiration. One of them is taking inspiration from the other.
Nope, that's wrong. Anyway, I was actually thinking the same thing.
How?
Because somebody posted it somewhere very recently, like a few days ago, and I saw it, and I was wondering, why are they doing this in English? Whose benefit is this for?
They just post it online and get clicks from it. I mean, obviously it gets clicks. I mean, we can see it gets clicks, but like, how much are they making from that? You don't get that much money. I mean, maybe it's more for them, obviously, but
I don't think
I guess it's more worth their time, like the
I
ad
don't think they're
revenue.
banking on it going viral for like ad revenue purposes. It's very clearly a nationalist kind of thing. But again, why would it?
But like the ones where they like start like playing those little games to like win food,
See,
like
that's
how much is that yielding
I
for
don't
them?
know.
No, I'm just saying like basically like there's no way they're making that much money from it, but I don't know, unless they get like paid the same that we would get paid if we were to have ad revenue, and then they get more money in their currency because of that.
I think you're focusing on the wrong thing here.
Well, I'm trying to figure out why they're doing it in general.
The ball thing.
Okay.
Nuclear power.
Inshallah, we have a
Inshallah. Yeah, it wasn't just in general for the ball thing though. I was just saying like for content like this, not just, you can have an overall motive even if there are different motives. Like you can still have one that's kind of like overarching, like, you know.
I don't think this one is for the purpose of like uploading it to YouTube. I think it just happened to be recorded, or they recorded it for some other purpose and somebody decided to upload it.
bright future. We have here students who are going to make Pakistan a great nuclear nation.
When I will grow up, I will be army and save
I will be an army.
Pakistan and destroy India.
Strong
I mean, I'm just saying, the kid, you know,
Now's his time.
kids have bright futures ahead of them.
My pledge is to help people who are need for people money and all this.
So Sarah said, I think it's propaganda, like showing India that they're raising the youth to be ready. I guess that makes it like easier to communicate between each other because now you have like, you know, English is basically a universal language. So
especially
you're able to
the grasp of English, and on top of that, there's like literally hundreds of languages in India alone. So it wouldn't really make sense to cater to just one.
that does make sense. Actually, that does make a lot of sense. And destroy India. I mean, it's like you got to set your goals somewhere, man.
He's going to help the people in Pakistan. Great.
I will open a buses.
Oh my god, dude. This is terrible. Just the shrieking, man. I can't take it.
Institution as possible and I proud to be a Pakistan.
Bro was ready.
Next generation of Pakistan going to
You said what?
Bro was ready. He was preparing for that shit.
make Pakistan literacy 100%.
My pledge to my country is that I will finish all corruption and so we will prove to Pakistan is not less than any other country. Pakistan Zindabad.
Pakistan Zindabad.
I will be a soldier and I will die for my country.
Yeah,
See,
we
that
have
guy-
soldiers who want to live for the country and die
Yeah,
for the country.
My wish to when I will grow up, I will help the poor people by giving their homes, by giving them homes.
Inshallah, he is going to come to everyone.
When I
where's the grape one? Is that gonna be at the end?
Bro, it already happened.
I didn't hear the. Oh, where was that? Was I here?
He's going to have a great.
It got cut off there. Yeah, that got kind of cut off. But where's the one that's like no one will have the courage?
I don't know.
Where's that one? You haven't heard that
might
one?
have happened too.
No one will have gotta. Yeah, is this one right here?
When I grow up, all draw right in my country.
Oh, this is a strong message. No one will have courage.
There you go. Dude, I love that's the one I knew. That's the one I knew. I mean, I knew about grape as well, but it's just that's the one that like really stuck with me. That's why I remembered about like, you know, this. this happening. So I mean, it doesn't seem like Pakistan's actually gonna win though, as far as what's going on. I mean, a man can dream, but a man can dream. I'm just saying, it's I'm just saying, man, everybody doesn't like India at this point. So I'm just, as far as who we should be rooting for, I mean, it seems like it's not that hard of a sell.
I mean, politically speaking, we are in fact rooting for both.
Okay, not the US, I'm talking about people.
I know a Pakistani guy that I'm friends with. I don't really know an Indian guy, so I guess that's my vote.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I don't think I know any Indian guys. You're right.
We do.
Oh, yeah, we do. But I haven't talked to him in a while.
Not spoken to him in a long time.
I don't think he would be so supportive of India though as a country.
No, he's more westernized for sure.
He is for sure. I mean, dude, this guy, okay, I want to tell a story about this guy because he's really funny, dude. I mean, he doesn't even try to be, but he just ends up being funny. He's one of those people. And so I guess he I don't know if it was and it was, but he was part of his family's religion, right? And then he kind of got into different
Hinduism.
Yeah, I guess it was. But he was into different groups on campus, very politically active at first. He was into different conservative groups, especially, and more things like that. Even leaning toward I guess more free market stuff and all that. But basically very influenced by that, I suppose. And then he got into Christianity, and he ended up joining this Christian group on campus that he even prioritized over the political stuff that he was really active in for a long time. He just started going to them and being active with them. But then he was still a part of this group I was in, and I was asking him, so you're Christian? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, but obviously your family's not. And he's like, no, they're they're Hindu, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, man, that's kind of does your family know? He's like, yeah. I was like, okay. And what did your parents say when you told them? He's like, they were they knew. He wouldn't answer the question. He wouldn't tell you what happened. He wouldn't tell you how they reacted. He would basically just keep saying yeah, it's just kind of obvious, man. That's just what happened, And so I don't know. You could never extract what you wanted from him, but he would just keep dragging whatever you told him on until you just were kind of okay. It was pretty funny because I don't know, man. I it didn't even seem like he was completely convinced, because I was kind of trying to figure out why he did convert, and then even then he was kind of just saying man, it makes sense, and so he would just keep going on like that.
I think at one point you and I or our other buddy were questioning him on why that was more valid than the Hinduism, and he didn't really have an answer.
Yeah, this was around that time. I think you guys had just jumped in after I started asking him about it.
Yeah, I think I do remember that. I was gonna say too, though, he might have had enough sense to know not to tell his parents because of the incoming reaction.
I don't know if it's glitchy right now for a second. It says it's reconnecting.
Oh, did you catch anything I said?
No. It was cutting off a little bit for me. You're better now, though.
I was going to say, he might have had enough sense not to tell his parents just because he knew what their reaction would be.
So you think he just told us, yeah, whatever I did, just to get us off his back, or
Yeah, that was my first assumption.
I mean, that would seem like that opens a bigger can of worms than to be no, I just keep it to myself.
I don't know, bro. he's not supposed to be lying technically, even though it's not a sin by Christian standards, but they say it is.
Well, anyway, it was very, very funny individual. I remember there was this one time I was in a group meeting. This one has really stuck with me, and I know you remember this. I forgot what it is. They were saying like, what are your like goals, or what do you want to see, like something like that. It like politically, you know, or like what do you want to, what kind of change you want to, something like that, some question along those lines. And then my answer, I don't know if you remember this, right? I was like, secular trad wives.
Wait, wait, was this when we were at the meeting with that one girl?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
And so it part of that was to get a reaction. I mean, I'm a rage baiter as well, I gotta admit. But so, you know, I think I was asked about that, more about that. And so I just took the path of the same man that I had spoken with and found his reactions to be funny. I'm like, oh, you know, they're like, you know, and they're in your house and they clean. I just said that. It was pretty damn funny, dude. It was pretty damn funny.
That whole dynamic was hilarious.
Dude, for sure. Okay. So one thing I did want to touch on at the end, I don't know if you have any like, you know, memes or anything that you want to share, or like Twitter videos that are interesting. There's a lot of stuff that just goes around these days that I can't even really show on stream.
Did you even mention why India and Pakistan was brought up?
Yeah, because India had attacked Pakistan recently.
Okay, that's good enough.
They've started attacking. Yeah. I mean, that's just the development in the news. I mean, I had received a lot of articles from this guy that's active in one of my servers, and he was just posting a lot of articles about this. So, I mean, if I just read off some of the news here, I mean, I could for you guys. So, like, basically, he was posting about this just a couple days ago.
That guy reminds me a lot of the other guy in my server, where he just posts a bunch of news.
Yeah, maybe I should make him a news channel. But
that was my idea.
So yeah, I'm gonna take your idea. It's a good idea. Yeah, so there was India attacks Pakistan. This was a couple days ago. Live breaking news coverage. Breaking: Indian missiles start striking Pakistani territory in at least 3 locations. The Indian attack is now in full swing. Fighter jets in the air. And then India announces Operation Sindoor against terror infrastructure in Pakistan. A while ago, the Indian armed forces launched Operation Sindoor, hitting terrorist infrastructure in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. And then there was footage from Srinagar, Indian-occupied Kashmir, and people from Srinagar, sorry. That this was spelled different twice in the tweet, so I'm not actually sure. Confirmed a fighter jet was shot down.
Nice pronouncing these names.
And then explosion. I didn't even think about that till now. Explosions can be heard in Poonch, Indian Jammu and Kashmir. Likely due to the exchange of artillery / mortar fire. Okay, so that's what we're seeing right now happening between the two. Just to read off that news for you guys, those headlines, and there's videos out there on Twitter that you guys can search up. I just really can't. I don't think I should be showing much of that. And so what I wanted to show, because again, there's like stuff that happens, and I'm like, sometimes I can't even show this stuff on our show because I think it's like, this doesn't have to do with that, this next thing. I'm just thinking like there are events and stuff. I mean, I guess, like we technically could talk about like, that lady in the park, like that stuff like that. But there's just stuff that's harder to touch on because it very much has to literal like racy topics, right? So there's just definitely tensions rising right now. And I don't know, like if you
I'm very glad we've decided not to touch on the park thing, because A, it's just not a good idea, and B, everybody's already talking about it.
Fair enough. But like I'm just saying that it definitely seems like there, at least from what we're being shown, there's like a lot more tensions going on, between main two races that you would think of when you think of race. And so, that is something I don't know how we would approach covering that really, because it's kind of like, again, we're on YouTube, man. Maybe if we did like, I don't even know if we would want to do like Rumble only streams where we talk about this stuff, or if we just want to leave it alone.
No, it's really not worth it.
Fair enough.
Not yet, at least.
Yeah, there may be a point where it escalates more and it is something we need to talk about, because it's just, that big of a thing. But I mean, obviously, like the whole Austin Metcalf thing, I feel like it did like get to that point, honestly. We didn't talk about it, but I feel like that kind of that was one of the biggest ones recently as of late. Basically just, Carmelo's family getting all that money and then buying the house and stuff like that. I feel like that was stuff that was at least worth touching on.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, we'll probably talk about it if there's developments in that are relevant and they kind of like, it comes back into the news cycle and discussion, mainstream discussion. But for now, we'll kind of just go into some other stuff. I mean, if you guys really want to see stuff about that, if that really matters, I mean, to you, definitely, I mean, drop comment or whatever you want, like, whatever you want to see about that we could still talk about on here. Because I do care about that stuff, but again, it's like, it just seems like we're pretty limited in how we can approach things like that here. But anyway, so Mike Israetel, you're familiar, I'm sure, because he just recently had that fat removal surgery, and it was widely talked about because he has been like, a dirty bulker, a seed oil respecter instead of a disrespecter, which is the true way to go. A seed oil, what do I want to say? Glazer, a seed oil glazer. That's what he does. And he defends it vehemently, and he's like, oh, you could just eat your cereal and eat your whatever, as long as you're hitting your calories, bro. And he recently had a fat removal surgery because he had fat deposits in sort of like unflattering areas. It didn't look as, good as somebody that wants to aesthetically look good would find themselves looking. But he recently has posted on Instagram his physique post, not, being in the gym as much because he's had to take a break because of this surgery. And the results of him taking this break and just, I don't even know what he's been doing in this time, but it is shocking, I would say. You were going to be like, yo, what is this? So I'm going to go ahead and show that. That is Dr. Mike Israetel.
He's a doctor.
I don't know when. I did not click like on this. I don't know why that happened. But anyway, yeah, he's a doctor. At least that's what he calls himself. So I would think I don't know, man. But he's very much like always thinking like, the science is a settled thing that we can just, talk about as the consensus is just what we should follow. Very much so, like, he wouldn't think in the style of Mike Menser, for example. And so, he's very, by whatever is said consensus wise, and he's defended those takes over and over. But here he is. This is his current physique. He said, transparency post, OMG, you guys, I feel so vulnerable posting this, JK. On a serious note, this is what I look like right now after 6 weeks off of all training. It's a trip to look at. 237 pounds in this pic. Lost some muscle, gained some fat. Now I'm back to training. I'll post some pics in a month or a few to see how much progress I've made. I would say this pic is tough to post, but to be totally upfront, it doesn't really faze me. I know with an incredibly high probability that I'll be in my best ever shape within just a few months, so stay tuned to watch me transform into a butterfly. But as you can see with his stomach, this is not a normal looking sort of like gain of weight, when it comes to fat. Like, I mean, this isn't even like subcutaneous fat from the look of it at all. It looks hard. His belly looks hard and it's big. So he has this big pot belly that likely resulted. I mean, he already had a physique that wasn't too far off from this, but I'm just saying, like, this is a lot more noticeable. But it could very well be a result of growth hormone causing bigger like growing of the organs in that area. Like, he could literally, that could be happening to him because of growth hormone use. Or, I mean, you know, other option is visceral fat from eating seed oil. That could be contributing. So he just has this hard stomach because of that. That's very much centered right there. I mean, if you're talking about like fat gain, he doesn't have much from the look of it in his arms. So obviously this is not a sort of normal like subcutaneous fat increase when you eat like more saturated fat or sugar. This is not a healthy weight gain.
He looks like he's pregnant.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Let's see. Is this build achievable naturally? Is the first comment. Yeah. Yeah, somebody said Greg incoming. Yeah, Greg Doucette has been making a lot of content surrounding, I mean, I think that's just what he's been doing, but I've been seeing it pop up in my feed of like bodybuilders and news about them. So he's definitely going to talk about this. He talked about Mike Israetel's surgery. Yes. Oh my God. He's going to reproduce. Watch out. There's going to be a clone soon. This is the guy I take advice from, by the way. Yeah. Well, I mean, is that something to like brag about?
I think it might be sarcastic.
Yeah, maybe, but it could also just be serious. Look at this. This GIF. It's pretty funny. Oh my God, dude. This fucking comment.
Bro.
Greg and my Doucette to this. That's a pretty good one. When are you expecting the baby?
I'm Gregging it. I'm Gregging my Doucette.
I'm Gregging my Doucette. This is crazy, guys. I'm Gregging my Doucette to this Mike Israetel post. He's pregnant, guys. What is going on? I mean, guys, this is more than a baby bump. He's not using enough testosterone. Guys, Turk Max Builder is going to get you no pregnancy belly. Naturally. It doesn't increase your testosterone. Have you watched a Greg Doucette video recently, dude? Bro will not stop promoting the Turk Max Builder.
Yeah, sometimes like it gets to like old school like PewDiePie levels where it's like sarcastically inserting an ad, but it's actually an ad.
Yeah. Bro, he starts talking about like Will Tennyson and he's like making this video about him, and then the whole thing's actually a testosterone ad. Like, I'm like, what? Why are you doing this? I mean, it's smart, I guess. I mean, I really wouldn't have known about it had it not been for this, like, you know, usage of it in every single video. I would have been questioning what it is. So, I mean, he's marketing it. What is it?
The video on Wes Watson he did.
I haven't watched that.
Well, basically, there was like leaked footage that Wes Watson is suffering downstairs, and then he turned it into an ad for testosterone at the end.
Guys, testosterone is gonna get you hard naturally.
Well, that's not what I meant by suffering. I meant by the function was working. It's just it was not very impressive when the function was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Just say that.
Guys, testosterone's gonna have you going all night. The power behind it is crazy. Look, this one that what the fuck is his name? More plays, more dates. Derek is not selling you real testosterone, guys. They don't even have it in the product. Why do they have the label having the damn molecule on it? Why is that in there? I've memorized his spiel of testosterone at this point because of how much I've heard him talk about it. But dude, I mean, it's It's just kind of crazy, that stomach. I mean, still, like, regardless, that was wild. I don't know how you look at that and think like, yeah, I'm not ashamed of this. This is fine. I mean, I'm good with this. This is good. You know,
Definitely
it really doesn't make much sense. Like, yeah, he is coping. And you know, the thing is, like, this is like your average power lifter, where even Greg Doucette calls them out when it's like this, because he's called like Eddie Hall just fat. He's like, dude, you're just fat. Like, you know, you know Eddie Hall, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've seen it, right? Because, dude, Eddie Hall, like, I mean, he eats like what, 10,000 calories, and I mean, obviously, like, you know, he's putting on weight because of that, because he's, you know, he's just slamming them as hard as he's eating as much as he can. It's not like his metabolism's like necessarily like, you know, just so ramped up that he needs to eat all that. He's just making himself eat it to put on as much muscle as he can, so that he can do these like superhuman level lifts at the cost of his physique. I mean, like, you know, yeah, he has all that muscle, but it's like, bro looks like a thumb, you know? It's so, I mean, and he's got all that fat too. It's not like he's like ripped or something. I mean, like, bro is not lean. And I think he even, like, Greg Doucette was even calling him out for coping about it too, because he was like trying to come up with like the argument that's like, oh, well, no, I'm just muscle, dude. Like, you know,
I'm big bone.
I didn't even know he was British until I watched the Greg Doucette video of him. I just saw the guy before, and I knew he ate all that because Beard Guy was telling me about that. Yeah, I didn't know.
I didn't either.
He's got a, hold on. I'm pretty sure it's British. He's English. I mean, no. Yeah, he's an English strongman. He's Britain's strongest man in 2012 through 2018.
This does not look like a healthy man.
Yeah, I mean, we could show him, dude. Hold on. He doesn't look healthy. I mean, this doesn't look like, when you think health, you're not thinking of this. You're just thinking, man, he's fat. Like, he's obese. Hold on. Let me put this up. I mean, I think the width of his head alone is just kind of a sign that, like, bro has a lot of fat too on him. I mean, it's like, yeah, he has muscle. Like, I mean, the fact that he was built, like, has built this, it's something. But I mean, you see his gut too.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you have it. I wonder if it even feels good to eat as much as he does.
There's no way it can.
Yeah. I mean, like, at the point where it's like feeding your muscles and stuff, like, he's gotten used to eating that way. Could it even still feel good at that point? I mean,
like, he's not eating like all sugar either. So I mean, he's just suffering through that shit.
oh, dude, yeah, the protein intake is crazy.
Oh, dude, that's gotta be all.
I wonder if I can find Eddie Hall's macros.
I feel pretty bad when I eat too much protein, so I can even imagine what he's going through.
Yeah. Let's see what, oh, shit, Marie. Look at this, dude. The AI overview. Eddie Hall's diet, particularly when bulking, involves a high intake of calories, primarily from protein and carbs. I mean, that makes sense that you don't want as much fat, but he typically, and also, I don't think that is primarily from protein and carbs when you're showing this breakdown of fat being 571 grams, though. But still, he is eating a lot of carbs, though, out of that. Like 1,111 grams of carbohydrates out of that. But 704 grams of protein is crazy.
Yeah,
let's
that
see.
guy's not gonna live.
So let's see his carb source. Let's read that. Hall's carbohydrate intake comes from a variety of sources, including pasta, rice, fruit, and occasionally energy drinks. Overall, not too bad on the carb intake, like how he's intaking it. And, you know, even on the protein sources, he relies heavily on protein from meat, including steak, salmon, and eggs, but that just doesn't feel good, I'm sure. Let's see. Fat consumed is from sources like butter, oils, and dairy products. Does bro just drink seed oils when he needs to? He's like, yeah, I just need more fat. I haven't hit my macros. Let me go chug this canola oil. I just need a shot. of canola oil. Just one. He's probably heavily breathing as he's drinking it. Just one more shot. Yeah. Let's see. He recently adopted a carnivore diet, focusing on meat and dairy with some vegetables. So he's trying that Mongolian grind, meat and dairy. Dude, that must actually be brutal though to get 10,000 calories of meat and dairy.
They can't. There's no way that can feel good.
I don't know, man. I couldn't imagine that. Like if you're talking like, I mean, even pasta or rice or, dude, that's like, imagine how much of that he has to eat. And he's probably not drinking a bunch of juice because it's fruit, right? Pasta, rice, fruit. These are all solid. And then occasionally energy drinks. Occasionally. He's eating so much solid food. How much stomach capacity does he have? How many pounds of food is he eating? Let's look at that up. Eddie Hall, pounds of food a day.
At least 7.
It's got to be more. I would wager close to 10 or more. 10 to 11. Got it.
I was right.
What?
I was right.
Nigga.
I said at least 7. That's at least
Okay.
7.
Anyway. So if he ate 50 pounds of food a day, you were right because it was at least 7.
Yes.
You are a D1 rage baiter right there. That is D1 rage baiting.
At least 7 just means the minimum is 7.
Bro, you can't be doing that. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. You can't just say, "Oh, well, it was at least 1, so therefore, while he eats 10 pounds, well, it was at least 1. It was at least 1. Those 9 other pounds that are 90% of what he eats. Yeah, sure, whatever. I ignored that to say at least 1. I only included 10% of that. And well, he still ate more than that. So I mean, I guess I was right.
That's how it works. You said at least 1. He did eat at least 1.
Oh, he eats at least a crumb of food. He eats at least an ounce. He eats at least, a gram of food a day.
See, I didn't say that though, because that's ridiculous. But that would still be right.
What's the difference between that and a pound?
Well, I didn't say a pound. I said 7 pounds.
But you said it would be right if I said at least a pound.
It would be right. It's a minimum amount, not a maximum.
So I could say, oh, well, he eats at least a pound. I guess I was right about how much he eats. Because the question was, how much does he eat? You can't just say you were right, because the problem is you could be like, oh, at least how much does he eat? And that's one question, right? And okay, at least 7 pounds. Well, I guess you were right because it was more than 7 pounds. But if we're asking how much does he eat, and you're saying at least 7, that your answer is close to 7. Your answer is close to 7, because that's why you're specifying that specific number there.
No, you're adding more than needs to be there. You're complicating.
I'm not. We're taking the implication that is generally accepted for these sorts of questions. This is common. This is just common sense.
Common. I've never heard anybody use that. It's a minimum, bro. So if you're past the minimum, then you're right.
Okay, but if somebody else gave a more exact number, would you then still be right? Because now, compared to that other person, you actually gave a worse answer.
Well, it's a good thing I didn't give an exact answer, because then I would be wrong.
But you didn't give as close of an estimate as I did.
So
you can't just say now my estimate basically everything, and if somebody gets it, closer than me, well, I still was right though. I mean, if we're talking about who was more right, me or you, I was more right.
Well, here's the thing. It doesn't include everything. It includes everything above 7 pounds.
Okay, so, bro, like, you're getting close to the number of 7 pounds because you specified 7. So of course it's like, 7 pounds, at least 7 pounds. People are thinking, oh, well, he probably means like 7 or 8 pounds. Like, at least 7. Oh, well, if it's like 7 or 8 pounds, I can kind of give him that leeway. There he's pretty close to the answer. So, pretty much therefore it's like, yeah, he was pretty spot on. You know, he was pretty spot on. But me, I said 10 pounds and I was right there. 10 to 11 pounds. I was right there. And, you know, so you said I'm right, as if you're claiming this is the victory for you, whereas I was the one who said 10 pounds specifically. So obviously I was more accurate.
But I didn't say 7 to 8 pounds. If I did, then you'd have a point. I said at least 7 pounds.
But you weren't in the, like, you know, you weren't exactly as close as I was to your, like, you know, to a number that you gave out. The number that you gave out was 7, technically speaking, because that's the only number you put on the board. You were saying, well, you know, it's at least that, but you were still saying in that regard, it's like, okay, well, you know, I'm thinking around maybe 7, maybe a little bit more is basically what you're thinking. If it were 20 pounds, you still would have said I'm right.
If anything, I'm more right because I gave an accurate range and you were off by like a pound or 2.
I wasn't. He eats 10 pounds on most days. I mean, there's days he eats 10, there's days he eats 11 probably, or maybe in between that.
I'm just saying, man. I don't know why you're getting this upset about me being right. It sounds like you're just hating at this point.
You're taking the credit for something that you didn't even have to, like, you know, try as much on, that you didn't even have to, like, you know, that you didn't even really have the skill to estimate as well. Huh?
I think I estimated pretty well. It was at least 7 pounds, and I was right.
You didn't give us much context with that, because if you're saying that it could have been anything above 7, that doesn't really give us much information beyond, oh, he just eats a lot of food.
But he does eat a lot of food.
Okay. So we're about at that 2-hour mark. You know, is there anything else you wanted to talk about today? Yeah, Boneyard. Hey, hold on. Boneyard, fuck you. Having a productive conversation over here. Got to hate? We were talking about how much Eddie Hall eats in a day. You can't blame guys for getting into a talk about how much a dude eats in a day, a power builder, you know, and then getting into a debate like this where you would probably have this same debate with your friends where it's like, they're like, yeah, man, I said at least 7. You're like, I got 10. That was so much closer. I should be getting the credit for this. This is the kind of conversation you would be having with your boys around a bonfire or something. And now you're coming in here to say, oh, you know, I don't like this very much. You were here at the end of the 2 hours. At the end of the damn 2 hours, bro, where we had so much more we were talking about today. Oh, I'm going to give you a thumbs down. You're a retard. You're a literal retard.
Whoa. That's heavy, dude.
I mean, he's slow. That's all I can say.
That's heavy.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
7 to 8 pounds.
Well, I would say his brain. How much does an average human brain weigh? Can you give me an at least on that one?
At least 2 pounds. I don't know.
At least 2 pounds? Let's see. 3 pounds.
Go. Let's go.
You were right on that one. It was 3 pounds. I mean, it was close enough, you know, so, but anyway, this guy, I don't think he has 2 pounds to him. I think he has, like, you know, half a pound at most. That's why he's called Boneyard. Most of his skull's bone.
Damn.
He's a blockhead.
You gotta take that Boneyard.
I feel like he said I should now take my leave, so he's probably gone, but I just felt like roasting the guy because it's like, bro, how are you gonna, like, what relevance did that have to any of this? Like, you're not here for the entertainment, whatever, dude. Like, you know, I don't care, then leave. You know, I don't need you here. You didn't really, like, you were so unnecessary stating that, honestly. There was no point. So I may as well make it funny. But anyway, Mr. Greg, it's been almost 2 hours here. Do you have anything else for the night?
I mean, it was clearly for attention.
Yeah, but what does he get out of that? Because, like, he doesn't have, like, I doubt he has content on his channel. He doesn't have a profile picture. So I doubt he has content. He's not getting any, like, subs from that. What's that?
Do you want to check?
I mean, I guess I could, but I think like the most you can make as an argument is to get some sort of self-validation from that. But it's like, why did you join a random stream just to say that? Wouldn't you have joined something that was bigger in hopes of getting like attention from that channel? Or is it because you couldn't get attention from those channels?
Hey man,
I'm having a hard time finding this channel.
be competitive on those other channels.
Yeah, that's true. I guess I can't blame you for your grind, bro, because you probably went in a bunch of bigger streams to say that, honestly, and they just didn't pay attention to you because you're irrelevant.
It's a rice gum type shit. Irrelevant.
Yeah, you're irrelevant. There was this guy, there's this guy who interviews rappers. I forgot his name, dude. Like, but it's like this guy, people call him like the Ryan Reynolds of his space. He kind of looks like he could be Portuguese, but he's like a white guy. I don't know. But anyway, he interviews rappers with ridiculous stuff. 24 hours. I guess he had some sort of song, I didn't hear it, but a while back. And his first question to this guy, he was like, so why is your name 24 hours? Because of how long you were relevant for? I was laughing so hard at that because honestly, this guy always like rage baits the people that he has on his own show. Like he's just like telling them the most ridiculous stuff to see if it makes them mad. And then he just keeps going on about it. And if they're about to like leave or something, or like, oh my God, bro, like, are you serious? He's like, no. I'm like your biggest fan though. He told this to one guy. There was this like Mexican guy that was on his show. He kind of looked like Little Pump, but he was basically like, or like 6'9". He had like that, look. He was telling him, so basically Mexican. He was telling him, he says, no, man, I'm your biggest supporter. I'm telling people like, don't hate the man. Just like close your eyes and like imagine a different person, and I'm sure you'll like him. And he's like, hold on, what do you mean by that? You supporting me or not supporting me? What do you mean close your eyes and imagine a different man? It's elite. It's really elite, and I can respect that a lot.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Did you have anything though?
I'm gonna have to do some digging for those jelly beans.
Okay. Anyway, guys, it's been good. We talked about a lot today. I mean, you obviously know because you were here. It's been pretty good. I thought this was a good show. We had less lag than last time because, I mean, the server's working better, I think. Screen sharing was pretty easy. I think it was just a bad day for, you don't really know how it's going to be. I guess you can't really estimate that every day is going to be like the next. Like, you can't really just think like, oh, this Thursday is just going to be like last Thursday. Like, it's going to be the exact same as far as quality. You don't really know what it's like out there. You don't know how the servers are working and all that. So, I mean, I guess it just happens sometimes, but we had a good show tonight. Appreciate you guys for coming in. I'm sure we got some decent amount of views because it was popping off at one point, like when we were talking about Kanye. So that's good. Let's keep talking about Kanye, I guess. But anyway, we might not talk about Kanye next week if there's not anything relevant about him. We might talk about something interesting other than that Mr. Greg has more knowledge on. He had more knowledge than me on the India and Pakistan stuff. I don't know shit about that, but I know about Kanye. That I do. We have our specialties. That's why we work.
True.
But he does say some retarded stuff sometimes.
What the fuck, bro? I was right. And you know I'm right. And that's why you're going out.
Anyway, guys, it's been good. We'll see you next time with more on
7 pounds.
the podcast.
Podcast ever.
The podcast ever.
That's how I hate.